Mic check.
Welcome to the March 17th Planning Commission meeting. All members are present. Join us now for the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, at this point, I'd like to turn the meeting over to Mayor Meyer to administer the oath of office and swear in the commissioners. Kazan?
Have a presence or preference about doing this together or separately? Do you have a preference? Would you like to film him separately? Okay, then we'll do it separately. The wives always get that decision. Anita, do you want to come and then we'll do Gerald? Love those. They're fabulous. Ready? Okay. So please repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Anita Roberts,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support and defend
that I will support and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California
and the Constitution of the State of California
against all enemies,
against all enemies,
foreign and domestic,
foreign and domestic,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the Constitution of the United States
to the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California,
and the Constitution of the State of California.
that I take this obligation freely
I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation
without any mental reservation
or purpose of evasion,
or purpose of evasion,
and that I will well and faithfully discharge
that I will well and faithfully discharge
the duties upon which I'm about to enter.
the duties upon which I am about to enter.
I just realized we didn't have a mic for her. Did we need that, or can people pick it up? Okay. Got it. Congratulations, Commissioner.
Thank you very much.
Like going up. There we go. Are you ready?
I'm ready. Ooh.
Ooh. We'll stand back a little bit.
Wow.
Ooh. Yeah, we've been having hot mic issues.
Wow.
Very loud. Okay. Please repeat after me. I state your name.
I, Gerald Johnson,
Do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support and defend
that I will support and defend
the Constitution of the United States
the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California
and the Constitution of the State of California
against all enemies,
against all enemies,
foreign and domestic,
foreign and domestic,
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
that I will bear true faith and allegiance
to the Constitution of the United States
to the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of California,
and the Constitution of the State of California,
that I take this obligation freely
that I take this obligation freely
without any mental reservation
without any mental reservation
or purpose of evasion,
or purpose of evasion,
and that I will well and faithfully discharge
and I will well and faithfully discharge
the duties upon which I'm about to enter.
the duties upon which I'm about to enter.
You are sworn in. Congratulations.
Go ahead. Thank you, Mayor Meyer. Really appreciate that. All righty. The commission will now entertain nominations and motions for chairperson, followed by nominations and motions for vice chairperson. Each motion will include a separate roll call vote. Do we have any discussion on chairperson?
Well, I would like to nominate Mr. Brandt for chairperson. I wanted to do it last time, so I'm doing it now.
I appreciate that.
I thought I'd put that in there.
Do we have any more discussion?
Did you need something more from me?
Do you want to make a motion?
I'm making a motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor?
No,
Oh,
we'll
wait, roll call
now
vote.
take a roll call vote.
Oh,
Commissioner Johnson,
Aye.
Commissioner Brand,
Aye.
Commissioner Roberts,
aye.
Commissioner Jones,
Aye.
Commissioner Floor.
Aye.
Yeah.
Carries 5-0.
And this time, we'll do the vice chair. Is there any discussion? Anita, do you have any discussion? Vice chair?
I'm sorry, are you asking me a question?
Yeah, we're going to discuss whether or not, who we're going to
Oh,
have for
yes.
vice chair.
I would like to nominate the chair to guide the new chair. That would be Ron Floyd, for vice chair.
Do we have a second?
Sure, I'll second.
And can we take a vote?
Commissioner Johnson,
Aye.
Commissioner Brand,
Aye.
Commissioner Roberts,
Aye.
Commissioner Jones,
Aye.
Commissioner Floor.
Aye.
Motion carries 5-0.
One more order of business for this portion of the meeting. Commission will now entertain nominations and motions for 2 members to serve on the Design Review Subcommittee, followed by nominations and motions for 1 member to serve on the Transplant Committee and the Brentwood Municipal Code Review Committee. Each motion will include a separate roll call vote. So we have any discussion on the Design Review Committee? We currently have 2 commissioners on that committee.
You remind me who are on the committees at the moment?
I believe it's Commissioner Johnson and Commissioner Jones.
Okay, on the design committee?
Yeah.
Okay.
Do either of the commissioners that are on that committee want to volunteer to re-up, or?
Yeah, I'll volunteer to stay.
I'll volunteer.
And does anybody want to make a motion?
Yeah, I'll make a motion to appoint Commissioner Jones and Commissioner Johnson to the Review Subcommittee.
I'll second that.
Take a roll call vote. Commissioner Johnson,
Aye.
Commissioner Brand,
Aye.
Commissioner Roberts,
Aye.
Commissioner Jones,
Aye.
Commissioner Floor.
Aye.
Carries 5-0.
Next up, we have transplant, and I think that's currently Commissioner Brandt. How do you feel like you want to stay on that?
I'm not attached. If anybody, I know if I'm chair.
I'd like to put my name for transplant.
Are you making a motion to put
I
your name
guess.
in?
I make a motion for Commissioner Johnson to be on transplant. You'll like it.
I'll second that.
Take a roll call vote. Commissioner Johnson,
Aye.
Commissioner Brand,
Aye.
Commissioner Roberts,
Aye.
Commissioner Jones,
Aye.
Commissioner Floor.
Aye.
Carries 5-0.
And if
And-
I may, is it all right for me to make a comment at this point through the chair?
As long as you do it in through the mic and chair is okay.
We have one more committee. Is it a comment about the committee or?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I just wanted to let Commissioner Johnson know that it's a very interesting committee in a positive way. And you're walking into a time where things are actually moving and not just a lot of talking. So I think that you're going to be coming into
I know, I think we met once a couple of years ago. I don't know when the projected next meeting is, but I'm happy to release that one.
Anybody want it? It's the,
well, I'll take it. If no one's, they don't meet, then that's okay.
And just to clarify, that committee meets supposed to meet the second Wednesday in January and July. So it's not a monthly.
Oh, second week in January and July. I can't do it.
I'd be happy to take it on.
is that a motion?
I make a motion that Jeremy takes on this role.
I'll second that motion.
Commissioner Johnson? Roll call
Aye.
vote. Commissioner Brand?
Aye.
Commissioner Roberts?
Aye.
Commissioner Jones?
Aye.
And Commissioner Floor.
Aye.
Carries 5-0.
All right, and with that, we're done with me being the chair. Do you want to just do it from there?
We actually need you to switch seats because when
Okey-dokey.
the chair speaks, the camera zooms right into him. But per his name tag, he will be Floor for the evening.
Great. Okay. We'll take a 5-minute recess while we rearrange ourselves.
Okay, we're back from recess. We'll start with public comments. Per the city's meeting rules and procedures, public comments are generally limited to 5 minutes or less time if a large number of speakers is anticipated or if approved by the chair. We'll keep it at 5 minutes. Speakers desiring answers to questions should direct them to the Planning Commission, and if relevant, the commission may direct them to staff. Speakers can also follow up directly with staff during regular business hours. Please file a speaker's card with the administrative secretary on the form provided at the back of the chambers. During this portion of the meeting, those in the council chambers are permitted to speak on the items that are not on the agenda. Public comments for scheduled agenda items should wait until that time. Zoom participation during this general comment period will not be accepted. Please note that the commission's actions are final unless an appeal is filed with the city clerk within 10 calendar days.
This time we have one speaker card. Danny?
I better put it back over here. Okay. Good evening. Congratulations. Wow, this mic is hot. Tonight. I'm going to. Geez, I just can't win. Okay. Okay. Well, if it hums, it hums. Well, now I have two complaints. One is this mic. The other is we aren't having meetings. I think this is what, the third that this body has assembled in the last 3 months. I can't imagine that building has stopped, planning has stopped, meetings have stopped. And yet tonight's meeting is on the approval of a couple of ordinances. And I find that strange. I don't know if there's anything that you folks can do about it. I don't know if it's a future agenda item vis-a-vis going to our new guy and saying, hey, you know, what projects do we have in the pipeline? If you remember last year and the year before, around September, October, all of a sudden there was a deluge of projects, and some of these had been in the works for months, and it was just brought to your attention. A big red brick building that I'll just say folks were able to shoehorn in is a prime example. And I'm concerned. So as I said, I don't know if there's any way I'm assuming you can reach out to the city manager and ask, is there anything in the pipeline? What is the state of various projects? And again, congratulations. And I'll see you guys hopefully in 2 weeks.
Jennifer, can you potentially, okay, yeah, you know what I said.
At this time, we have no further speakers in present.
Yes, so to answer the question, currently on the city's website, we do have a project development page. It has a link directly on the main page of our city's website. As soon as you land on brentwoodca.gov, there's a project development page. It lists all applications that are currently active in the city. It narrows them down to residential and commercial development. It provides their status of either under review, approved, or under construction. It also includes the specific project planner that is leading that project and their contact information. So if there's specific questions you have on any current application and what the status details are, the public is always welcome to contact the project planner and request additional information at any time.
Thank you so much. And I'll just add that as well, you can click through the project descriptions and the plans and whatever else is preliminary with respect to those individual projects. So it's not a lot, but it's enough, I think. Let's see. Moving into item G1, regular Planning Commission minutes from January 20th, 2026, our last meeting. Let's see, there is one set of minutes for the regular meeting from January 20th. Is there any discussion, or I'll look for a motion?
I make a motion to adopt or approve the consent calendar.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
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 Motion carries. So I think we'll just move into public hearings. Item H1, it's a continuation of text amendments to the Brentwood Municipal Code related to the adoption of objective design standards for residential and mixed-use development needed to comply with state law as required by the city's adopted housing element implementation. And I'll pass it to Jennifer for the staff report.
Thank you. We are back here tonight in collaboration with JZMK Partners and De Novo Planning to present text amendments to our municipal code to adopt objective design standards for residential and mixed-use development. Tonight's presentation will be given by Drew Watkins, and we also have Tim Hagan and staff online, both from JZMK. They are joining us tonight via Zoom. Staff and our consultant team have diligently gone through your recommendations made at the last Planning Commission hearing on October 21st and are here tonight to review those changes with you and then assist you in any way possible so we can make sure that any remaining comments or concerns can clearly be articulated to council before moving forward. And with that, I'd like to hand it over to Drew for the presentation.
Great, thanks, Jennifer, and congratulations to the new commissioners. It's great to have you on. I'm going to share my screen here. So as Jennifer mentioned, we've been working since the last Planning Commission meeting to really try to, work to respond to the comments that you provided. We kind of first compiled those comments, I think fed the initial comments back to you, and then now we've been revising the document to address each of those comments. The presentation I have for you today, we're going to do a little bit of an overview. I realize that there's some new members, and then we're just going to dive into the changes that we've made to the document. So what are we doing tonight? We're looking at those revisions based on comments. These are for the objective design standards for residential and mixed use development. The purpose of objective design standards are responding to several California state bills that require ministerial approval of housing development. This helps streamline the housing development and review process. And the idea of the objective design standards is that they protect and articulate the city's vision for residential development, and they increase efficient delivery of new residential units. They give kind of clear expectations to the development community from the city's viewpoint. So the goals for the objective design standards, or ODS, are to provide a clear set of citywide regulations. We're working to preserve the character of Brentwood. We're creating standards that are appropriate to their context and environment, that create human-scaled buildings, that promote high-quality site and building design, and that emphasize a pedestrian-oriented environment. The document is organized into 6 different chapters. I'm not going to go into too much detail. We're really going to dive into the changes, but we just wanted to give an overview. There's an introduction that has kind of a preamble, description, kind of purpose, goals, and terminology definitions. Site planning, which talks about the kind of overall site requirements. Site design, which talks about more like where a building needs to be placed on a site. Or parking or other things on that site. Building design, which focuses then on the form of the buildings themselves. Architectural styles, which is self-explanatory, and then landscape. So the main kind of kind of topics of comments that we got are outlined here. We got comments on adding context, the context of Brentwood that was in the existing guidelines to the purpose section. So we've kind of worked to really incorporate a lot of the language and descriptions from those residential design guidelines, bringing the appropriate pieces over to the objective design standards. We've clarified goals, some park dedication standards, and then refined the code and Senate bill references. We've added a bunch of new terminology to help provide some additional clarity for terms and add some more objectivity. We've removed kind of phrases such as throughout the document to, again, increase objectivity. We've clarified the noise attenuation standards. We've removed contemporary architectural style from the list of architectural styles. We have worked to increase objectivity within each of the architectural styles as well. And that a lot of that was around roofing materials, roof types, different materials, details, and I'll go into a bit more detail on each of those. And then we've, on the landscape section, increased the percentage in non-plant material for the landscape section, allowing additional non-planted areas, and added a section on ember-resistant zones that are work well with high fire hazard zone areas. So diving now into kind of each of the revisions, and I'm going to walk through these. Happy to revisit any of these in more detail. We revised the introduction again, bringing in kind of that overview from the residential design guidelines into the ODS, and there was just kind of a great kind of description of the history of the city, and kind of really set the tone for the rest of the document, and kind of gave some context for the design guidelines that have now, many of those have been brought into the ODS as objective design standards. We've also refined the goals section, describing why the ODS is being prepared and working to strengthen its defensibility. We've added 42 new definitions. I'm not going to go through all of them individually, but they're listed here. We've highlighted them in the draft revision document that's been provided for your review. And these are really to work to increase objectivity throughout the document. So if there are terms that we're using in later chapters, that we're giving a clear explanation of what those are. Some of them include, definitions of roof, wall, and color materials, confirming concrete, clay, and masonry tile are included, and adding definitions of details and styles. So in the next chapter, we work to add some clarification on park dedications. This is the site planning chapter, and aligning that to the Brentwood Municipal Code. Later on in the same chapter, we also brought in a reference to SB 9, recognizing how that may affect the city and its applicability. In Chapter 4, Building Design, we refined the purpose to just kind of clearly describe what we're trying to achieve, ensuring that building scale, massing, and bulk are designed to support human scale, enhancing the pedestrian experience, and responding to the surrounding context through appropriate massing and facade articulation. We revised the roof forms, types, and applicability. So we removed some forms, and this is somewhat, we removed the contemporary architectural style. So we felt like some of the roof forms were no longer needed. We also kind of refined what roof forms were applicable to certain size buildings. And then later in Chapter 4, refine the noise attenuation section to include some language from the building code and CEQA requirements. We did a little bit of reorganization for some clarity around entry typologies, just so that kind of follows a little more clearly in the document. We listed utilities and kind of identified them more clearly in our utility section. And then in styles, this kind of had a bunch of changes, including the removal of the contemporary architectural style. So that's removed from both the citywide and PA1 areas. And now PA1 just includes Spanish, Mediterranean, Craftsman, Ranch, and Italianate. And then throughout the styles, we made some changes to a bunch of the sections. So roof types and materials, we revised this to pull out composite asphalt, wood-like synthetic materials, and we are just allowing concrete, clay, and masonry tile for roof materials. And then some of those have a little more specificity depending upon the style. So like for a Spanish style, it specifies a red clay roof tile. But in general, we removed several of the materials that were not desirable. We also made some more prescriptive definitions of colors and materials. And so that happened to each of the 7 styles. And we added some more specificity to decorative details throughout. And so they're refined to be more prescriptive and objective so that there's less ambiguity. For example, we decreased, we had some description around tiles and vents. And then we also aligned the Italianate styles so that we were decreasing the minimum requirements to 4 to kind of better align with the rest of the styles. In the landscape chapter, we added an additional goal of maintaining arbor's tree characteristics, so that's added to the purpose. We increased the non-plant material minimum. We also added a standard for xeriscaping. And we added some standards around ember resistant zones. And those are the changes that we made. So we really appreciate the feedback that we got in the last meeting, and we hope that we've addressed those comments and now have kind of a tighter document that kind of aligns to your goals and is more objective, adds some more clarity and definitions, and it is something that we can move towards City Council.
Great, thank you, Andrew. Does the Planning Commission have any clarifying questions of staff?
May I? Yeah. So I just wanted to let staff know that I am really impressed with the work that went into these revisions. And I thank you for the time you have given to each one of us to outline some of these revisions. One in particular that was a big stickler for me was the noise and odor piece of 4.10. And so you captured that. And I just wanted to commend you on listening to us and putting what we said into a revision. So thank you.
Okay, Commissioner Johnson, I think you had your hand up. Just staff, yeah.
Hey, I just want to thank you for including the defensible fire retardant area around the houses. That was one of my pet peeves. And I just want to ask just a couple questions to make sure I'm clarified. So that 5-foot area, it didn't say 5, I think it said 5 feet. I got to go find it in here again. Is that going to be around every home? Will that be required? It's down in the back. I think it's soil.
In this section, we are referring to municipal and county codes. So anywhere that is in a high fire zone would certainly need to have that follow the code, which includes that zone around the house.
So my question would be, I mean, we live in a very arid, dry climate, especially in the summer sometimes. I know that prior commissioners also who dealt with insurance and people who have not dealt with insurance have advocated for a 5-foot buffer area around the outside of each home to lower insurance costs so that they could get insurance, because if you don't have it, sometimes you're not even able to get it or it costs more money. And so I think that first of all, two things. One, building in resiliency for the future into this document would be a good thing. So, things like having trees too close to the building, having that 5-foot path around the house should be on every home as we go forward, not just let's say if there was an area that was specifically for fire.
So we are the ember resistant zones. We are requiring around all structures, and then there are, further references to code for, kind of depending upon where you are located.
Also, Commissioner Johnson, I just looked up the 4291 in the California Public Resources Code, and it does specifically reference this includes a 5-foot ember resistant zone, as you described.
Right.
So, if I remember correctly, the last meeting, maybe it was Jennifer or yourself had mentioned that maybe not itemizing every detail is smarter because we can more dynamically address changing code by listing the code itself. So maybe it seems a bit short.
So what we're trying to do is up top kind of reference the code that in general, and then I think we got feedback that ember resistant zone in particular was important, and so that we did call out for all structures. But then recognizing that these codes may change and will be the best science and protective measures going forward, and so we want to use those to the best ability while also providing extra defensible space for all structures in the city, all residential.
So is there a gold standard for like defensible space, fire hazards that other cities are using based on your experience that are incorporated, that either has been incorporated in their ODS or is separately in their resilience to make their city safer for in regard to fire?
Yeah, I mean, these codes that we're referencing really are those gold standards and are continually updated. So what we want to avoid is putting in, we don't want to transpose those standards into the ODS and then they become outdated, right? We can rely on those organizations to, continue to update and provide the best standards for the city.
Okay, I have another thing, and it's about trees that are planted in the city. So where roots, like where as the tree matures, because what normally happens is we plant saplings or, but as the tree matures, they uproot the sidewalks. And and I didn't see it, and maybe I missed it in the document, but is there a way to address that?
Yeah, so actually it's part of our engineering standard specifications that are already adopted by the city. We do have root barrier specifications already adopted. So in here, we do reference city standards specifications, I think in the introduction. So that is something that is for all residential and commercial developments citywide that has already been adopted.
Okay, thank you. That's all I have at this time.
Thank you, Commissioner Johnson. What do you? Commissioner Jones.
Close. Johnson Jones. Very quick clarifying question, because I know this was based off of some resident feedback, and I just wanted to clarify it just so that it's out there. What is the process of enforceability of this? So somebody doesn't do it, or like, in other words, everything has to fall within these guidelines, and you just flat out would say, no, you can't do it if they were going to try and do something else.
if they, there's an exception process. So they
Okay.
can apply for an exception from this. And then it becomes a discretionary review. So then it would go before the planning commission or the governing body, and they would look at it on a specifically case-by-case basis, and look at the reasoning why they are requesting an exception, and then determine whether that is something that they could approve or not.
Got it. So in other words, if someone said, I want to do contemporary, I don't want to do what's on here, they could file for an exception, and essentially that would come before the commission.
That would essentially be a very, very large exception,
Yeah.
because it would be an exception to everything. But theoretically, that would be possible.
Okay. Thank you. I heard resident feedback on that, and I wanted that just out there publicly to kind of understand what the process is, so that we know what would come in the event something like that happened. So thank you.
Vice Chair Floor?
Thank you, Chair Brandt. Just piggybacking on what Commissioner Jones was asking, it seems to me like there was language in the document about a variance, calling it a minor variance. The exception process, I think, was mostly about a minor variance. It seems like completely changing the design. I mean, changing the architectural style would be more than a minor variance. So it would be a judgment call, but so I'm just throwing that out there. I don't have a lot of questions, and I'm kind of blown away by that. This document is excellent. I commend staff and the consultants for the job that you have done in taking our input and coming back with, sometimes I'll say I couldn't have said it better myself, but there are things in here that I could never have said as well myself. I mean, there's just beautiful language in here that's very specific and very descriptive, and removes a lot of ambiguity. I mean, it's the English language. Somebody will always, try to interpret something their own way, but I believe that this job is done very, very well. I am just amazed by it all, and not amazed because I thought you can do it, but just amazed at how good it really is. And I think that this document is, first of all, even before these changes, this document is far superior to what we had in the past in the old residential design guidelines. It's beautiful. It's well illustrated. It's laid out very nicely. A person looking at this would understand that Brentwood wants to make a beautiful city. And if anyone who drives around in this city and goes up the different streets knows that there are many beautiful neighborhoods here. And I'm proud of what staff has done here to create a document that, within the constraints that have been placed upon us by the state, that this planning commission and future planning commissions and city councils can continue what the people who first conceived of this city and began to build it out wanted it to be, which is just a beautiful city. And this is what we have. So I just want to say thank you very much. And it wouldn't be me if I didn't find a typo. Having said all that. So in section 564, it's the Victorian materials and colors under required elements. There is a shall be predominant bullet point, and I'm not sure what that bullet point belongs to. So I think it might just be a typo or something. I'm on, let's see, this is 75 in the document. It's section 5.6.4, materials and colors. It's for the,
Yep. Yeah, I think there's just an extra carriage return there. Thank you. We'll pick that up.
Yeah, and I think that when we pass a resolution, we usually leave room for staff to make minor adjustments. That is one. And I do especially, I know I'm talking too much, but I just want to especially commend the definitions section. I think that adding the definitions like that and being really clear about things and taking a lot of the subjectivity out of it I think given that we're not supposed to have subjectivity these days, I think that that's very helpful in terms of making this document not only a document that will ensure that we have a beautiful city, but making a document that will ensure that we are in full conformance with what the state wanted us to do. And so, yeah, thank you very much. I really appreciate it.
I know a lot's been said already. I'd like to echo most of what's been said. This document is amazingly comprehensive. I wanted to share one additional thing about it that I thought was great was the itemized list of differences and then what the comments were and then what went into the document. I think that just simplified everything. I mean, I went through the whole thing. I just was like, wow, this is a really great summary for anyone who's just looking at it. But yeah, I have no questions. I was just very, very pleased how it turned out. Any other questions of staff? Otherwise, we can proceed. Okay. At this time, the public is permitted to address the Planning Commission. Remarks are limited to 5 minutes per person. The city has received 0 public comments regarding this item that were sent via email or otherwise for consideration. Copies of these comments would be made available on the city's website on the meeting information page.
At this time, we have one speaker, Danny.
Mr. Flora, I'll pick up where you left off then with, well, it's not really complaints, more concerns. And now, of course, my comments are all screwed up. So my major concern are developers taking advantage of these changes. So I have a series of questions. First one is, has there been enough rigor? In other words, have there been any exercises to mitigate Sino and Shea shenanigans? Using the contemporary build example, do we have any guardrails to avoid builder's remedy? It may be in there and I missed that page. But when there was the exception, the moment I heard that, I started thinking of builder's remedy. And will the public have anything to say? Does this apply to ADU or ADU requirements? And for example, my house is 23 years old, so what I see doesn't apply. But if I'm building a new ADU, do they fall under these standards or are they grandfathered in because I have an old property or property that I've had for years? And are there any addressing of infrastructure design, streets specifically? For example, Guerin, to put in as many homes as possible, created those streets where you have no parking on one side and not really a sidewalk on the other side. And it's sometimes very difficult to navigate. And then building aesthetics, vis-a-vis homes looking into other homes. Now, some of these I know we try to mitigate, but if you look at some of the newer homes, you have to have blackout curtains. You have to have, pretty much everything. And again, the developer isn't in it to really help us. They're in it to make a buck, and here are what we expect. But in the 6 years I've been coming here, I also expect someone to push it right up to the line. Oh, and that was it. Thank you.
At this time, we have no further speakers.
Okay. Can I get a motion to close public comment?
I'll make a motion to close public comment.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Aye. All right, moving into discussion. Would anybody like to start, or maybe with a particular topic, or I'm kind of open to where we want to start with this?
Well, I think that the speaker made some pretty profound statements. And one of them, having gone through this conference, to the conference that we just returned, oh, look who showed up. ADUs, I'm a little concerned. Would this apply to all building structures related to residentials? Or is this something that is exclusive to the main house?
This is exclusive to the main house. Per
Okay.
state law, ADUs are exempt from design guidelines.
Oh, well, okay. So we could have all of this work done and they can build a contemporary ADU in the backyard. Yeah. Okay, well, that, I'm gonna let the rest of I won't take all the thunder.
Now, speaking of that as well, I know Mr. Dorman had some comments here, including the ADU, so we got one off the list now. So, would anybody like to go next?
I'll be brief. I'll just say first, thank you to staff. This is a truly thorough document. Thank you for the piece on the ADU, because that was a question. I think, personally, everybody knows over these last couple conversations that I was a real stickler on the contemporary piece, and I know we all were not feeling good about that. So overall, though, again, I think this document was very well put together. Thank you for taking all of the notes from the last meeting and putting them into this document and giving us a chance to be able to see that. You really did some great work, and I really have no questions or anything else to really add to it other than just thank you for the work. It looks great.
Thank you, Commissioner Jones. Commissioner Johnson, any comments?
Yeah, I didn't say it the first time. This document, I remember the first time we went over this, but this document is very, very well put together. I don't want to just repeat everything everybody has said, but it does capture everything. I was impressed. It looks like we'll have a beautiful city. So I just hope we can maintain it and maintain the document as time goes on.
Thank you. Vice Chair.
Thank you. Just to give you an idea of how well laid out this document is, I just read the whole thing this afternoon, just a final reading, and I was able to recall that the question about the window alignment was answered in this document. In section 4.8, it's called window alignment, and then 4.8.1, which is the only subsection, is also called window alignment, and it reads in full: within single-family and multifamily buildings, windows facing each other and located within 40 feet of each other shall not directly align with one another. So, this document, again, is so well laid out and logically set up so that I think, not just planning commissioners or planners or community development, but I think any member of the public can look at this document and see what's required. And I just applaud that. Again, I care most about how the public in general perceives the benefit of growth. And I just think, one more time, it's awesome. And I just I cannot thank staff and the consultants enough. Thank you. And that was my comment.
Yeah, Commissioner Johnson.
Just one quick thing. The use of the word furniture where you're talking about, I guess, where they have that on the sidewalks where you would have where you could have trees and that little strip of land, I guess that's called the furniture. I'm just curious of why is that called the furniture zone? And it just kind of gives it like a misnomer, I want to say. But it's like if you look at page, I forgot to mention this earlier, page 12. So it's that zone. It's, you have the sidewalk and then you have, it's that strip of land that can sometimes be used for.
Sometimes we would call it a parkway.
Yeah.
But in this case, we called it a furniture zone because we meant for it to be kind of a program zone. It's where a bench or a trash receptacle, a tree could go, or planting. It's kind of the furnishings of the street.
Yeah, I was looking at that. I was like, trees, lighting, seating, bike parking, public art. The use of furniture just I think it's just kind of an ambiguous term for the layperson. That's just me. That was the only comment that I had about furniture. I mean, I know sometimes we have, like, restaurants might have, the little table and chairs out there. That might be furniture, but it's probably few and far between. But that would be my only comment for a more readable, a more meaningful description of that area where you have grass, that extra strip of land.
Thank you. I'll start. I want to answer a couple of the questions that were asked. As far as builder's remedy, Jennifer, can you comment specifically what the intersection of this document and the builder's remedy law looks like?
So the builder's remedy law is only applicable if we currently do not have a certified housing element. So at the moment we do. We foresee having a certified housing element through 2031. And our goal is to, on the next one, start early to make sure we have our housing element certified for the next round prior to the deadline. And as long as we continue to do that and have a certified housing element, then our builder's remedy would not be on the table for the city.
And hypothetical, if the city was vulnerable to builder's remedy, how would that look in terms of its relationship with this document?
If the city was vulnerable to the builder's remedy, not just this document, but our zoning code and every city standard potentially could not be applicable. An applicant would have the option to set their own standards in that case.
Understood. Little scary.
Yes.
And then I know that this document addresses a lot as it goes to circulation. And, there are parking standards that I know that the BMC references specifically for new developments or existing developments. And then, commenting on the ADU stuff, there's parking requirements for that. Is there anything of importance necessarily to call out that this document highlights uniquely compared to those?
Yeah, actually, I think we strengthened our position as part of the ODS. Currently, there's multiple city standards for streets. There's private street standards, which don't require parking on both sides. There's public street standards. There's type of, arterial and collector street standards. As part of this, all residential streets, whether they are private or public, as part of these standards, are required to meet a standard similar now to our current street standard for public streets, which does require landscaping and sidewalks, as well as parking on both sides. So in my opinion, it actually strengthens our current standards.
Understood. Thank you. Yeah, I'll keep it short. I know everyone's commented on how wonderful this document is, and I frankly agree with that wholeheartedly. We've seen this document several times. I think this is, number 3? And I'll speak for myself, and I believe that we are on our 3rd hearing with this because of the degree of specificity and adherence to what we at this body believes as being the standard of Brentwood's appearance. And there's a number of ways that we can objectively define what that appearance needs to look like. And so as Commissioner Jones described removing that contemporary, because if you drive around Brentwood, it's kind of hard to find a contemporary house. And yet you can see all the ones that we've listed, the Spanish, the Italian, all 7 of them or so, you can see those pretty abundantly. And so I think we've done our best here to sort of identify what how Brentwood looks now and how we want it to look for the next however long this document remains, and might take a revision or two in the future, depending on what's needed. From my perspective, the main thing that I did was I went through a lot of very old pictures. I know the East Contra Costa Historical Society provided a lot of really great content to just look at pictures of buildings that we've had here in the last century. And I had a hard time finding something that was outside of the realm of what we're seeing here today. And so I think that's definitely a testament to from where we've come and to, where we're going to go with this, with future residential and mixed-use developments. That being said, if no other comments, I'll look for a motion.
Just on the change of the furniture.
What? Oh, you wanted to express
That strip of land between the street, the sidewalk and the street.
Yes. Are you looking for a definition clarification?
Just a change in that nomenclature of furniture describing the strip of land between the sidewalk and the street. That is on page, hold on.
Yeah, so it's currently designated as a landscape
Furniture
/ furniture zone area, and we could just change that, just to clarify, it'd just be a landscape zone area. We could take out the word furniture altogether if that
It's on page 12. It's throughout the document, but it's on page 12. It's very minor. It's just I don't want it to be confused to people. I just want to be more specific. You can look at page 12 as an example.
Is there a similar definition that we can leverage that maybe uniquely identifies that from traditional landscaping? I don't know. I'm trying to.
I think
It's really just the title of the area. Furniture and benches would still be allowed in it, but my understanding is just when you see the title, it's confusing. It's not necessarily the definition of what's allowed in that zone. It's just
Exactly.
the title of it.
Right,
So,
because you can have public art, you could have bike lane, you could have a street light, you could have grass.
yes. So there's multiple things that could go in that area. And so, yes, we could change it just to landscape area, which would still be applicable and it'd still be understandable within the document, I believe.
Yes.
If you want it to be more general, it could just be a buffer zone. I mean, that's
Buffer
essentially what
zone
it's
is another
acting
good.
as.
Yeah.
And that could include the landscape, street furniture, et cetera.
Right. Buffer zone is fine. I'm just trying to make it a little more precise.
Yeah. So, as I look for a motion, consider the possibility of Commissioner Johnson's addition of the furniture amendment, I guess we'll call it.
I can make the motion if you want. Let's see. I make a motion to adopt resolution number 25-015, recommending that the City Council adopt an ordinance approving text amendments to the municipal code related to the adoption of objective design standards for residential and mixed-use development, with one modification to rename the landscape furniture zone to buffer zone.
I'll second.
Just to quickly jump in, does that motion also include the non-substantive revision to section 5.6.4 with the extra bullet point?
Oh, yeah, that's just a character return, but yes.
And I second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 5-0. Okay, moving on to, sorry, what, somebody, oh, thank you, Andrew. Moving on to item H2, I have a small request to shift I know Jennifer and I spoke about this, the order here. I will be recusing on number 4 because there's 4 proposed items here. That's resolution number 26-007. And so what I recommend is that we proceed with the first 3 and contain our discussion to the first 3. That way I can recuse on the final number 4, and then the discussion can resume. And just to clarify, my recusal, oh, sorry, I have a statement here, sorry. I'd like to request a separating resolution 26-007 from the H2 resolution separately. I'm recusing myself due to my daughter's current attendance at a school within the boundaries impacted by this proposed priority area 1 amendment recommendation. Okay, so we'll start, Jennifer, yeah, I guess we'll just cover the first three and we'll allow Vice Chair to proceed after that.
Yeah, so I'm going to go ahead and give the overall presentation. And like you said, once we are complete, we can take questions and public comment and voting on items 1, 2, and 3, at which time then we can recuse yourself and have Vice Chair take over and hear the last one. So thank you, Chair and members of the Commission. Tonight we are here to consider text amendments to the Brentwood Municipal Code related to state legislative updates, gas stations, stream setbacks, as well as updates to Priority 1 specific plan related to private schools and public schools. In January of 2023, the City Council reinitiated the city's zoning code update, including focused and phased approach that included 3 main tasks that are shown here. Tonight's agenda is related to Task 2, our zoning code update required by state law, as well as Task 3, which is our focused zoning code updates, as well as other amendments to various sections of our code and Priority Area 1 to better reflect the community's values based on feedback from the community and the City Council. The first recommended update tonight is related to the state legislative updates. Recent years have seen numerous changes in state law, as well as various legal decisions that have created inconsistencies between cities' current zoning ordinance and state law. And in order to create consistency throughout, as well as existing land uses, staff has drafted updates as summarized in the agenda report and identified here related to our sign ordinance, processing and review procedures, appeal procedures, micro-enterprise home kitchen operations, which we call MICOs, public hearing notices, and electrified fencing. The second recommended update before you tonight is related to automobile service stations and gas stations. On November 12th of 2024, the City Council decided against prohibiting all future gas stations or their expansion and instead directed staff to draft an ordinance that capped the total number of stations instead of prohibiting them. Based on this, staff is recommending that service stations be limited to a total of 20 stations throughout the city and has proposed amendments that are included in the agenda report for you tonight. The third recommended update is related to stream setbacks. In October of 2024, staff presented the City Council an update and requested direction on ongoing implementation actions of the city's conservation and open space element. One of the specific actions related to the discussion was action COS 4F, which is shown here. Since the city already requires substantial creek setbacks and riparian habitat protections through our participation in the East Contra Costa County Habitat Conservation Plan Association, it was recommended that these guidelines simply be reaffirmed by reference as part of our zoning code update. Oh, sorry. There's the element actions shown there. And the fourth and last recommended update is related to PA1 in schools. Current requirements within the specific plan have created inconsistencies with the city's current specific plan and state law as outlined in the agenda report, as well as inconsistencies between the city's current specific plan and existing uses, creating non-conforming land uses. In order to create consistency throughout the plan, staff is recommending updates to the specific plan to eliminate all mentions of public schools and return private schools back to conditionally permitted uses as they were previously allowed. With these final recommended amendments to the zoning code, staff believes that the city code will continue to reflect the community's values and will be consistent with state law and professional best practices. It will update and streamline development review processes and will be written as to be easily read, understood, and implemented. Based on this, staff is recommending that the Planning Commission recommend the amendments to be approved by City Council, approving the resolutions before you tonight. And that concludes staff's report. Staff is available, as well as Perry Banner from De Novo Planning, our consultant that has helped us on our focus zoning code update, is also available via Zoom tonight. And that concludes staff's report.
Thank you, Jennifer. Any questions of staff? Before we, no questions? All right. At this time, the public is permitted to address the Planning Commission. Remarks are limited to 5 minutes per person. The city has received 0 public comments regarding this item that were sent via email or otherwise for our consideration. Copies of these comments would be made available on the city's website on the meeting information page.
We have one speaker, Danny.
To do with this, I just wanted to make sure it was known. I thought the report was great, the previous one. I just always worry about Sino and Shay. Thank you.
At this time, we have no other speakers in Zoom, in person. In Zoom, it looks like we have all staff, so there are no speakers in Zoom.
Thank you, April. Can I get a motion to close public comment?
So moved.
Chair Brand, just a minor point of procedure. It's a motion to close the public hearing and not
Public
necessarily
hearing.
just public comment.
Sorry, excuse me. Motion to,
So moved.
second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. Is there any discussion by the commission for the first 3 items at least?
Well, if I may, so we've got 19 gas stations in the city of Brentwood, leaving, if I heard you correctly, 23 was the cap?
20.
20.
20.
So we've got room for one more. Are there any that you know in the hopper?
Yes, we currently have one application in that is under review. It is located on Sand Creek Road on the extension just west of the highway on the north side of Sand Creek Road. It is currently under review. It is a conditional use permit and so would be required to come before the Planning Commission for final approval.
Okay, thank you, Jennifer.
Any other, we're in discussion, so go ahead.
Hi, Jennifer. Just quick question. What is the projected population of Brentwood, like 10 years? I think I don't know. I don't need an exact number, but just trying to, is it?
I do not know. I would have to look it up unless anyone else knows.
Yeah, good evening. It's about 80,000 according to the current general plan, but again, those projections were based on data from like about 10 years ago, so we don't have a more accurate figure, but that's the number we use basically.
So I just have one quick question: is that if the population grows, we have a lot more homes, and we need, the gas stations, what'll happen is if you have only 20 gas stations, the price will go up, and because there's lack of competition. Is there any way to amend it to increase over time sometime in the future?
At any time through the zoning text amendment process, similar to this, the city council could direct staff to increase it. An applicant also on their own could technically recommend a zoning text amendment to be heard before the Planning Commission and City Council, but all of those would be legislative actions that would require it to go all the way to City Council for final review and approval.
Thank you.
Vice Chair Fleur?
Yeah, just on the last point that Commissioner Johnson brought up, I understand the concern, but it seems unlikely that unless we expand the size of the city at some point in the future, like maybe during an annexation discussion, that would be something we would bring up. But in general, usage of gasoline is going down. The newer cars that are being made tend to favor the hybrids that get 40, 50 miles per gallon. We're seeing a lot more electric vehicles on the road, and the need seems to be more for new charging stations more than new gas stations. So as for myself, just looking at the trends and being somebody that has a layperson's interest in this, I don't see any particular need to modify the language at this time to allow for more in the future. There is a process already in place for just such an amendment as we're doing now could be done in the future if such a need did arise, but I don't see it happening.
Commissioner Jones, any comments?
No comments this time. Thank you.
Thank you. So I guess I'll go through my math again because I remember I brought this up last time. So we know 62% of Brentwood residents who drive to work, they drive alone. It's about 20,000 people. 25% work from home. The average commute is 40 minutes. We can go into all the stuff about how much an average household spends on gas. Basically, what that comes out to is that they spend about they buy about 17 gallons a week. If you take our VMT and throw that into that equation with a typical, we call it average MPG of 31 based off of if you take the total number, which we have, of every vehicle registration in 94513 area code across from 2010 up to 2024, I guess is when I did it. Everything from 27.5 all the way up to 54.5. Basically, that gets us to, 280,642 gallons per week across 20 gas stations. Basically, what it turns out to is like if you have a station of 6 pumps, a small station like the Circle A over on Lone Tree and Brentwood Boulevard, it basically means your pump is you have all of your pumps occupied for a total of 2 hours per day. That's our current throughput for gas stations. So we have plenty, even if we were to double in our population, we have more than enough space and places to essentially buy it. And you're welcome to check my math too. My main concern was exactly what you had described, that like, look, the price of gas, and then we already know it's going up. It's like, let's just throw this, let's get some variables in there. Let's, crunch the numbers. That was my conclusion, but it surprised me as well that it was that low.
Yeah, I haven't come from that industry. I'm not talking about necessarily changing what it is now, just wanting to ensure that there is flexibility. Service stations, if it were what you were saying, I think in terms of throughput, they wouldn't be able to survive with that low volume. So they wouldn't make enough money to pay the rent and the bills and all that sort of stuff. But that being said, if the need arises at some point in the future, it can be addressed. If it doesn't arise, it don't have to be addressed. It's just wait and see.
Yes, exactly. My only question to staff was regarding the electrified fences, and I forget what the state law was addressing. It's something to do with like commercial uses and on their properties. Can you give us a general sense of, how much of Brentwood may be impacted by that, by essentially adding that to our municipal code?
So off the top of my head, without pulling it up, it is a law. First of all, I believe sunsets 2 years from now. So it is something that only is applicable for 2 more years unless it's extended. And it is only applicable to auto-related facilities. And specifically body repair shops and things who have storage of vehicles on site that have frequent break-ins and frequent parts stolen. And so it set up an expedited process in order to securely protect those types of facilities with electrified fences, where most cities currently don't allow electrified fences at all. And so it's very specific to the type of use. And then the setbacks still have to meet normal fence setbacks. So you couldn't put an electrified fence where an existing fence couldn't be. It's just a type of fence that would be allowed, and it would only be for auto-related type uses.
Understood. My memory's not so great right now, but I believe it was a maximum of 12 volts for electrification. I think I read that, but I could be wrong.
That I do not know. I'd have to pull up the specific.
Okay, I don't know.
I have it.
section.
I have it in
she's got-
front of me. It's Civil Code Section 835, and yes, it does specify 12, no more than 12 volts.
Okay. I mean, I know we don't have a physician here, but my only question would be the impact of 12 volts on, just my kid runs in the opposite direction and touches the fence. I mean, 12 volts is not a whole lot, but that equation of how you calculate how much power actually goes through voltage and all that, it can add up real fast. So.
And the state law actually does specify that electrified fences have to be within another fence. So you'd actually have to jump the first fence before you hit the electrified fence. So it would protect your small children from running up and hitting it. Teenage children who might be trying to get in trouble and jump over the fence is a different question, but luckily it would protect smaller children from just running up and touching it.
Yeah, unless my oldest son decides to be a pole vaulter, I guess we'll be okay. Yeah. Thank you so much. I think that is, and then for the MECO, I think that's the acronym you described. I don't know if all y'all are familiar. These are, they seem to get a bad name. And I've heard they also are called ghost kitchens. It's very common now I would say larger cities where, from an economic standpoint, basically someone in their home would be able to operate a non-storefront restaurant. So if my mother-in-law makes tamales, out of her home, if she lived in Brentwood, she'd be able to make those and then have people essentially do DoorDash with that. So it provides a kind of unique, I could be wrong, but this is my understanding of it, is provides a unique opportunity for the city to also have presumably an additional revenue in such. It's not just allowing folks to be able to do this sort of thing, but.
Yeah, that is absolutely correct. It was a law that was passed actually quite a few years ago, but because counties regulate our health department, counties are the ones that actually had to opt in to allowing it within their county. And Contra Costa County was kind of late in the game to opt in as our county. Alameda County opted in quite a few years before that. But once Contra Costa opted in, they are actually the regulating agency. So just like a restaurant, Contra Costa County would have to inspect it for cleanliness. They have standard sanitary requirements, and so they're required to do it. But it is for smaller based restaurant or food prep is the majority of what we've seen type kitchens. They're limited on the number of meals they can do per week. They're limited on the volume. But yeah, we have seen it where it's meal prep kitchens or very specific things like that, or in some cases in larger cities, ghost kitchens.
I've heard doing somebody's baking pies and cakes and for sale, and they got commercial, ovens and stuff. So, but they'll bake tons of baked goods and items like that for sale to restaurants, could be to other folks.
Yeah, so like I said, I think there's a lot of creativity there in terms of new economic opportunities and lowering the barrier of higher upstart costs potentially by enabling this. So very cool.
Chef and the chair's chef capabilities.
I can't cook. I can only cook outside. That's my joke. Yeah. Anyway, so is any further discussion? I know we're.
I have some.
Oh, Vice Chair Fleur.
I'm sorry, I was just going back through. I had noticed a typo earlier when I was doing my reading of this and had lost track of it, but I found it. I think it's a typo. I'm not really sure. It's in attachment 2, which is the first draft resolution, and it's on page 9 of 12 is the heading at the top of the page. And as far as the PDF, if you're looking at the individual PDF, it's section 5, section 17.810.001 and 17.18.009. At any rate, I'm reading a paragraph 1 about government code section 65864, and it goes on and on and on. And starting with under appropriate circumstances, that the sentence never ends, and there's kind of a therefore in the middle of it.
Without the E.
Well, it's not that there's not an E, it's just that the sentence, therefore you should do something, and then the sentence never does anything. it just keeps describing. And so I think it might be grammatically incorrect, but maybe I'm just reading it wrong.
Maybe Brittany has some comments on that, like
I'm
grammar.
just taking a look at it right now.
Thank you.
Doesn't therefore have an E in it?
It does. I think it does.
Oh, you like, what is?
But that's really not what I care about.
Therefore have an E. I'm like, on what? The run-on sentence legalese, therefore has an E.
I don't know if staff has any thoughts on the sentence. I mean, I think it is kind of a long sentence, can probably be broken up.
Yeah, and in the case of this, I would recommend that staff look into it prior to presenting it to City Council and modify as appropriate.
Yeah, I think that would be appropriate. Just have a look at it.
And that was in the staff report, what, page 143, I believe?
142.
142, okay. Just as a mental note.
It's 143 in mine. I'm not sure.
Yeah, that's
looking at the same
mine is 143 as well, but
142.
oh, okay, one of the two, in reference to what Vice Chair
Okay.
for.
It's PDF page 143 and non-PDF page 142.
Got it. Okay, so also considering Vice Chair Floor's grammatical amendment, I'll look for a motion on the first three resolutions.
I make a motion to adopt resolution number 26-004, recommending that the City Council adopt an ordinance for text amendments RZ 26-001 to the Brentwood Municipal Code that would amend and add regulations for signs, micro-enterprise home kitchen operations, public hearing notices, electrified fencing, and application review and appeal procedures to ensure consistency with state and federal law. Do we want to go through all three?
Oh, you got to do it one at a time.
Let's do them one at a time.
Yeah, I
And
think
can
maybe
you-
we do
can
one
you
one
add-
at a time.
I'll second that.
Can you just as a friendly amendment, add the grammatical
Yeah,
clarification?
with an amendment to the grammatical error brought up by Vice Chair Floor.
And the spelling of therefore.
We want to start with
Can we get
004?
that second one more time on the mic, please?
I second.
So we're in reference to number 26-004, correct? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'll also make a motion to adopt resolution number 26-005, recommending that the City Council adopt an ordinance for text amendments RZ 26-001 to the Brentwood Municipal Code that would limit the total number of automobile service stations, gas stations to 20 within the city by adding Brentwood Municipal Code Chapter 17.665, automobile service stations, gas stations.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries.
I make a motion to adopt resolution number 26-006, recommending that the City Council adopt an ordinance for text amendments RZ 26-001 to the Brentwood Municipal Code to add regulations and development standards related to stream setbacks within the city by adding Brentwood Municipal Code Chapter 17.625, stream setback regulations.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. I will recuse for the final item for the reasons I described earlier. Thank you.
All right. We have one more resolution to consider. let's see. I guess I'm going to go back to clarifying questions just on the fourth resolution, which is 26-007, relating to the specific plan and updating regulations related to private and public schools, in case anybody has any questions for staff. Commissioner Roberts.
I do not have any questions at this time.
And Commissioner Jones?
And again, just to clarify, it's essentially removal of the words public schools and keep it strictly to private.
That is correct.
Thank you.
And Commissioner Johnson?
None at this time.
And I think we've already done public hearing. Do I need to open public hearing again? Should I?
I think we should because we broke it up
All right.
this way.
Fair enough. At this time, the public is permitted to address the Planning Commission. Remarks are limited to 5 minutes per person. And just as a reminder, we're discussing, at this time, we're only discussing the resolution 26-007. April?
We have no speakers present, and in Zoom, we have all staff.
Okay. So I don't, oh, we do need a motion to close the public hearing.
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
Second.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All right, and moving on to discussion. Commissioner Johnson, do you?
I have nothing at this time.
Okay.
I have nothing at this time.
Okay.
Same, thank you.
And I have no discussion. I'm prepared to entertain a motion. If you got yours.
Commissioner Roberts, we need the mic on, please.
I make a motion to adopt resolution number 26-007, recommending that the City Council adopt a resolution for text amendment SPA 26-001 to the Priority Area 1 specific plan updating regulations related to private and public school facilities.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And can somebody invite Chair Brandt come back into the chambers?
Thank you, Vice Chair, for covering. Moving into informational reports from committees and upcoming meeting schedules. For the transplant, I guess that was my last meeting. Unfortunately, I wasn't able to attend because we were all down south. It was last Thursday. Design Review Subcommittee
We did not meet.
and Land Use.
Our meeting was canceled.
Municipal Code Review has not met this year. Request for new agenda items. Any future agenda item requests?
Oh, I have one. So I'm not quite sure how to word this, but I am a little concerned about how we sit up on the dais and we are doing everything we know to do to protect the frame of this city and the residents and their desires that we hold near and dear to our heart, listening to the residents and so on and so forth. So it behooves me to see the county come into our city and erect buildings without any thought to the residents and the businesses in the community. Now, I guess and so that's the context. My concern, and I have spoken to some of my colleagues, at the end of the day, there has got to be a discussion so that this dais can communicate out to the community that we have absolutely no control over what the county elects to do, whether it is part of our general plan or not. But I do believe that there's got to be something, and I'm not sure how this plays, Mr. Nothinus, but there's got to be something where we, even though the county apparently could care less, and this is the word that's coming back to me from the community that is on Business Center Drive, how we can engage a community that they're not engaging at all, to listen to their concerns, because the county's not. Is there a way, and I'd like for the entire dais to be a part of this conversation, where they can at least have community input? I know it's not our project, but it is our city. And I'd like to know if there is some way that we can at least engage our residents with concerns and perhaps, I don't know, take some kind of narrative, bring some kind of narrative back to the county, but apparently the county is not listening to the residents, so beyond the county, the state legislature. I just need to know how that might work. And a little more context, I did speak with some of the legislators at the conference, and it is impacting not just our city, it's happening in some other municipalities. And they are, in fact, in a place where there are avenues in which are taken to not stop what's happening, because I don't think we can do that, but at least communicate out to the residents that that is happening, to give them some form of assurance of either its safety or its pluses or minuses, but to at least have the residents' input. I know that's a lot, but that's something that has been on my mind. It's in my community, so I take issue with it. But I have spoken with the residents in that community along with some of the businesses, and they are not happy because they were completely ignored by the county. So I'd like that as an agenda item, a future agenda item, to have at least a discussion or find out what you can. And more than that, part two, I don't know that the city is being advised by the county of what the county's plans are for the city of Brentwood. But if you are, I'd like for that to be shared with the Planning Commission. And if you're not, I'd like to know if you have any remedy on how to find out that information.
Pastor Roberts, if I may, I'd like to piggyback onto your item. Just with an observation, I noticed in the, there was a staff report to the city council meeting, I believe it was the most recent meeting, that mentioned something about the Planning Commission could review the design. It wouldn't be binding, but it would be something that the Planning Commission could do, and acknowledging that doing a design review that had no enforcement mechanism would be a burden on staff, time, and materials. I am curious if my recollection is correct about that, and if such a thing was considered. I recall no discussion at city council about that, but it seems like it was in the staff report somewhere. So if that's a thing, I would like to add a discussion of that particular avenue among the options that Commissioner Roberts wants to contemplate.
Good evening again. That's a lot to take in. So My thought when you were mentioning it, Commissioner Roberts, was so there was the future agenda item that Vice Chair Floor had brought up a while ago about just the overall process and how staff works through applications and formulates recommendations. My plan was to bring that back to the commission next month, and I'm wondering if, so usually the future agenda items is kind of a two-step process, right, where it's mentioned at an initial meeting, and since it's not on the agenda, there's really no discussion about it. There can't be discussion about it. It's brought back for a more formal discussion about how you want to proceed with it. But I was thinking maybe we could include some sort of county discussion as like an example of the type of project that staff and the city reviews. And we could kind of throw that into the mix when we have the broader discussion. And then depending on how that discussion goes, you can potentially get into the details or weeds of example type projects. And in the meantime, I can send out, because I've done this before and hopefully this works for the commission, more or less like a summary email, like reviewing the information that was discussed at tonight's meeting and then providing you with some of that existing kind of and potential county information. So it helps kind of inform the discussion next time. If that makes sense, that would be my preference, unless Brittany, you have a, no? Okay, does that sound?
That sounds great. And so would a notification go out to because the community is they're not on board. They're very upset. I know it'll be a discussion for process, but I'm wondering if when we make this notification or we put this on an agenda, is that something that we can extend to the community so that the community understands the process as well? Because being left out, which is how they feel, and this isn't about jobs, by the way. I've heard this narrative that it's about jobs. This isn't about jobs. This is about folks that are transferring from one location to another. And if there are jobs, there are probably more jobs being offered at Burger King than there are on this big project that's going on in my neighborhood. That being said, I would like to, yes, explore that you've mentioned, and I'd like to make sure that the notification is out there so that the public can weigh in on a process like the one that is before us and the one that I'm inquiring about. So I think that would be great.
Yeah, and I understand what you're getting at. I don't want to commit to any specific type of notification process right now because ordinarily for that type of item, we wouldn't provide either like a newspaper or a mailer. So let me kind of noodle that, like how we might do it in the meantime, and I will get back to you. But just the general approach, does that kind of address?
That's fine.
Okay.
That's
Great.
fine. I appreciate that.
Sure.
And you're believing that this might be something that we might see on an agenda next month?
That would be my goal, yes, to just kind of group it together as a big discussion item, right? And we
Okay.
can identify it appropriately on the agenda to give the commission flexibility to ask questions.
Very good.
And I think, as you know, just real quick, I know exactly what you're talking about, and of course, it has created a bit of a stir. We're very well aware of it. We submitted our own comment letter to the county, but that's not the only property that the county owns in the city, right? So there's other stuff.
Sure.
And I can include that in the email to the commission so that you're aware of kind of the bigger picture. And it's not to say the county might purchase other properties in the next few months or a couple of years. We don't know that, but I can tell you what we have on the books as far as what the county owns.
Sure. Okay, that sounds like a plan. Yep. Thank you, Eric.
Great, thank you.
Any other future agenda requests? I just have a singular one. A few years ago, this commission had recommended a widening of the notification from 300 feet to the, I think the FPPC standard of 1,000 feet, just to keep it all uniform. It's a great idea. One of the things, and actually that project in particular got me thinking about, would we be able to make a standard above that in which a threshold could be breached that would essentially, like, we come up with some type of objective criteria that would then require not only notification to just the 1,000 the 1,000 feet as the crow flies, but for the city or maybe the applicant to host essentially require them to host a town hall if they meet certain requirements. So whether that be flooring square footage or a particular type of use maybe, or a certain residential density. The idea here would be that we have an existing standard for a typical, like, just Joe Blow project, whatever, whether it's a gas station or it's a 14 home apartment building, that kind of thing. But we don't have one that really addresses what I would consider so your Costco's, for example. That's a massive building that employs so many different people. The impact of a building like that is even more significant than just the surrounding 1,000 residents. And so I would like to work with this group to be able to determine what those thresholds might look like, and then ultimately recommend something to council that indicates that once these criteria are met objectively, that we could proceed with having a town hall hosted. So in my opinion, it sort of reflects the larger impact that a potential project could have, and not just on the small area surrounding it.
Interesting concept, and I think I understand what you're getting at. Since this one would fall into the more traditional process of, requiring additional discussion, what I would say is we could put that back on the next agenda, right, for the full discussion and then the consensus about whether to proceed with it or not.
Great. Yeah, I'm good with that.
Okay.
Anything else? Okay. The next regular Planning Commission meeting is scheduled for April 7th, 2026 at 7 p.m. and will be held here at Council Chambers located at 150 City Park Way. Do I have a motion to adjourn?
Second.
All
One
in favor?
second, we did not get that motion to adjourn on the mic.
He beats me up bad. So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
You better love April.